The next topic is rather important as well. It's about business plans actually, because a lot of people don't like to make them. Actually, sometimes it's really tricky, it's really difficult if you just have an idea, if you have a research project, which is really great, but you need a business plan. That's always the same if you're looking for money, if you're looking for investors. Nothing works actually without a business plan. Some people say it's really outdated already, but actually no investor will further continue to talk to you if you don't have one. And for that topic we invited a specialist. He came from Munich today actually, and that is Niclas Fritz, and he's supported like numerous hardware startups in creating business plans, and he's working as an associate consultant for PULSAR as well, and he's helped numerous startups with training, business development and business plans. Please welcome Niclas.
Thank you. Thanks that you all showed up. It's an honor to talk here at the Startups. Also warm welcome to everybody who's watching online. And let's get started. So this is a little bit about my background. I actually did a bachelor in international business management, majored in finance and marketing. And after that, I actually joined the innovation department of T-Systems in Dresden. In there, I co-founded the spin-off Couchfunk, which is today the leading social TV offering here in the DACH region. After that, I joined PULSAR Consulting, where I'm still working. There, I did a lot of innovation projects with Accelerator-Programmen for März, einer, and other companies. Besides that, I was involved in Hardware.co. Together with Tasha and Jonas, I was running the last batch. And right now I'm mostly helping hardware startups to execute their businesses, finding production partners and the like. A little bit about my fundraising experience. I was always really interested in starting a business, even before I started to study. And I took part in business plan competitions, and the first one I won was with part-time music in 2008 in Osnabrück. Then the first successful fundraising round where I was part of was our seed round with Couchfunk, where we raised about 750,000 euros. And the biggest success was together with PULSAR, where we raised around $20 million for Sonics. So let's get started. I want to start with the right time to talk to investors, because I've met a lot of startups that talk to investors way too early. This is really important. Likewise, I want to explain the fundraising process, because most of the people don't know all the details. Then I want to show you a little business plan framework, give you some tips how to structure the investment presentation, and last but not least, I want to tell you where to look for investors. So, this is an important fact. 75% of VC-backed startups fail. Do you have any idea why? No? Okay. The reason is the team. Yeah? Most of the startups have not a good team. Yeah? And I always tell them, make sure you have a complementary team, so you have business skills on board, you have technical skills on board. But the most important fact is actually that you know yourself for a long time and that you went through hell before, that you survived really big struggles. Because founding a startup is basically working on your limit 24/7. And when you can't work together as a group, if you can't trust your co-founders, eventually you will drift apart and the whole company will fail. And the second thing is, remember this one, only hire when it really hurts. Because I meet so many startups that once they get access to funding, they just hire people all the time. But they hire them for positions where they themselves have no idea about. So they can't really meet the employees. And this causes also lots of failure. Second thing is traction. This is a very good quote, even though it's a bit long. It's from Andreessen Horowitz, who is the founder of Netscape and also one of the leading investors in the US. He said the number one reason that we pass entrepreneurs that we otherwise like to invest is their focus on product to the exclusion of everything else. Yeah? This is pure traction. Yeah? But do you have an idea what traction is? Yeah.
Evidence of success.
Sorry, I didn't get it.
Evidence of success.
Yes, but how? What evidence could that be? I mean,
Sales, for example.
yeah, this is right. Any other ideas? I once heard the co-founder of Angel.co say, traction is like porn. You know it when you see it. So with other words, it's continuous sales. It's not selling your product once, it's selling your product multiple times for the same price to different customers. And still growing strong. So here are some ideas of how you can generate traction. It's viral marketing, social media, PR, email marketing, personal sales, business development, and the like. And I can really advise every startup to sit down in the beginning, pick like 2 to 5 most likely channels that fit to their business and start working on that. Yeah? And iterate. And once you find one channel, really concentrate on that to drive your first sales. Really important. So, when is the right time to talk to investors? Yeah? First of all, you have to have talked to your customers. Yeah? You have to listen to their feedback and implement that. After that, keep in mind, it relates to the quote, spend 50% of your time on selling your product and 50% on actually building it. Because I see so many startups that are hiding on the cellar, working basically 24/7 on building a product, but they are not selling it. Yeah? And even though if you are in a very early stage, if you only have a prototype, you can at least go to some people, get feedback. Maybe sign an LOE if you are in the B2B business. Or at least make potential customers sign up for a mailing list. This is all proof that people are really interested and that you have some sort of traction. Yeah? And this again connects to make sure that you have one working channel. So this was just, basically your homework before you can even think about, raising money. And I want to now continue with the fundraising process we've developed at PULSAR Consulting. Yeah. So in the very beginning, I recommend everybody to start with something I call the startup health check. Okay? And this is basically sitting down with the team and brainstorming bullet point answers to these kind of questions. What is your product? What is your USP? Business model, customer, competition, market, IP, what contracts have you signed, all that stuff. And then really think, where am I missing out? And then work on that. Answer all these questions before you even, write this first word. And from my experience, this will take at least 4 weeks if you're really good. And also involve mentors during this time. Talk to friends, so you get feedback. Then the next step is what we call the generation of investment documents. But how do you do that? Most of the time I meet startups that just start with PowerPoint presentation. Totally wrong. You're just gonna waste much time. Start just with a 1-sentence pitch. Super simple, where you nail basically the core of your idea. This is also good training when you go to networking events, that you can pitch your business in 1 sentence. Really important. After that, start with the Excel spreadsheet. That's the next step. You write down all your assumptions, you start calculating your business model, and then you even, then you're kind of figuring out if your business model makes sense. Can you make money? Or, are your marketing expenses too high? These kind of things. And then maybe you have to change the way you do marketing, find a cheaper channel, for example. And once you have a business model, in form of an Excel, that is working out, you can take all the information and put that in a PowerPoint to tell the story. Because if you do it otherwise, if you do the PowerPoint first, you have to redo all the slides again and again and again. This is based on many startup cases. And after that, like the last thing is the executive summary. This is basically the 2 or 3 pager or maybe the PowerPoint with 5 slides that you send investors to get their attention. And you have to do it at the very end because basically that are the core points that you have generated before with the Excel spreadsheet and the PowerPoint. And it's the summary. If you do it otherwise, you have to do it all over again. And then the only step you can do in parallel is actually the investor selection process. So I always recommend startups to just take a normal spreadsheet and list all the investors you heard about, you have in your network, and try to figure out information. Where they're based, look for email addresses, phone numbers, look for investments that are similar. Find out in what stages they invest, how much they invest, and then rate them. And this is basically the generation of the long list. And then rating these investors is basically the step of evaluating the long list. And I always recommend startups to put like 5 to 10 investors into one group, and put like the investors with the best fit and best reputation in group A, and then make group B, C, D, E, and make sure you have at least 50 potential investors on there. Big VCs, but also business angels. And then you generate the short list. Basically, that are the segments of the groups, and address group B or C first, not group A. Because these are usually really good investors, which get many business plans, and most of the time startups haven't talked to investors before, so they make mistakes, they fail. And it's always best to use like B or C investors to test, to iterate, to improve the documents, and then, because usually they don't get much deal flow, or less deal flow, to put it that way, you also have a better chance with to succeed with documents that are not perfect. And maybe you also get an LOE with like a B or C investor, which you can also use to put on the table when you're talking to A investors. That's usually the best way to engage with A investors. Then let's talk about how to actually engage with these investors. Usually it's sending the executive summary to the investors by email. But it's best if you talk to them in person or per telephone or something to tell them, are you interested, or is it okay if I send you the executive summary? So you already have multiple touch points with the investors that they keep you in mind. Because some of them get hundreds of executive summaries per year, and to stick out it's very complicated. The next thing is to try to organize, a talk with them on the phone or in person, where you have a chance to explain a bit more about your business. Try to show them your PowerPoint so that they get more information. And then I always get asked, should we sign an NDA? In general, my recommendation is if it's like well-known VCs, don't sign an NDA, because they often get ideas that are very similar to yours. And they will never copy you anyways, but for them, signing an NDA with 10 startups that are more or less doing the same, it's also problematic. So that's why most of the investors don't sign NDAs anymore. And then the next step is, if there's really interest, you can sign a letter of intent, so that both parties are basically interested to work together. And this usually includes an NDA part as well. So when you exchange more detailed information, then you're also protected. And after that, you usually have the due diligence. Okay, so that's where you sit down with the investors. They really drill down in your technologies. They usually send experts to check out if everything you promise is true. They really look at your business plan and check, if you have miscalculations in your Excel or something like that. And they will also ask lots of mean questions. And I always tell the startups, be the captain of a sailing boat that is basically on your lake, okay, on the lake. And you have like questions and feedback from all areas, which is basically the wind, coming from the north, from the south, from the west. And as the captain, you have to set the sail and sail to the sand beach you want to go to. And you would have to basically, steer the boat. And with other words, you really have to stick to your vision, okay? Listen to everybody else, but only because an investor, who's potentially investing $1 million says, do this or do that, don't listen to them, I would say. Really try to stick to your vision, because often these questions are also tests. They want to see if you really stick to your vision or if you can bend, and then that are minus points. So and after the due diligence, the last step is basically signing the final contracts, term sheets. You need to involve lawyers. You can't do that on your own. And then hopefully you sign the final contract to get an investment, which is usually paid out in steps connected to milestones. So if you sign an investor contract where they give you 1 million euros, don't expect to have like $1 million on your bank account the next day. It's usually spread out over 12 to 18 months, and every 2 months, 3 months or so you get a few $100,000 if you deliver. So all over, I think mostly this and process takes 5 to 6 months if you're really good. You need to spend 4 weeks on answering questions, 4 weeks preparing documents, then talking to investors, sending out the documents, getting an answer. If you're lucky, this happens within 8 weeks. And if you're not successful with your A round, you have to repeat this all over again. And then when you finally have a due diligence, this usually takes 2 weeks as well. And signing contracts also about 4 weeks or something. Because most of the time, startups approach me and say, help me with writing a business plan, let's do it within a week, and then we go to investors, and in a few weeks we have the money. This is not true. And if this process is going faster, then there's something wrong. Maybe you're like a really super hot startup, and they just want to make sure that they get a good deal before you talk to other investors. So really go to other parties, pitch, and check if you have the same interest. So let's continue. This one sentence pitch was developed by the Founders Institute, and I really like it. It's super simple. It's basically a good framework to pitch your business. And why is that? First of all, it starts with my company, and you have to insert your name. It's funny, but I meet so many startups that say what they're doing, but they never say like what startups they are. So how can I look up the startup later on or something like that? So it's important. Then make sure that you mention a defined offering. Also a defined audience. Just like male smartphone users is not a defined audience. Male smartphone users between let's say 14 and 20 that are interested in soccer, this is better. And then state your problem. What are you doing? What are you working on? And also name your secret sauce. Super important. This could be like an algorithm, this could be new types of sensor or whatever, but really include that because this is what makes you stick out. Then let's continue with the Excel. I always recommend startups to have like these basic 9 tabs. The most important one is the assumption tab. I show you like a very simple screenshot of that later. But basically, on this assumption tab, you put in all the key values, how much is your monthly rate? How much is the salary of the CEO? How much do you expect to pay for marketing per month? Like all these basic assumptions. And you need to link these values later on throughout the Excel. So whenever you're in a meeting and someone says, okay, I don't believe, that the rent, for example, are 1,000 euros, it's 2,000 euros, you can immediately change it and it calculates through the whole Excel. And because this will happen, you will sit down multiple times with other people and they will ask you questions and you will go through the business model. And if you can't make these changes, you have to go home, you have to work on that, then you have to send it again and you are out of business. Simple as that. Then put like your annual statement to the very beginning. Have like an extra tab where you do the revenue planning, liquidity planning, operational expenditures, capital expenditures. I also recommend to have another tab for your personal planning. Then have some KPIs in there and evaluation. But don't show the evaluation to your investors in the very beginning. Because it's like, if you buy a car and you already state the maximum price you want to pay. So this is important. So, and here's some examples, okay? So, very simple, maybe CapEx could be office starter package, a Mac monitor, chairs, table or something. You buy it for every employee. Yeah, it could be 3,500 euros. And maybe you need a large TV for your meeting room. Here you have some legal fees, traveling expenditures, marketing or something, and you basically just put down all these values. And then when you're in a meeting and someone says 750 euros for traveling, is not enough because you are basically a business where you have to do a lot of selling. You have to fly every week at least once. Of course, then this needs to be much higher. And then there are different things. You can maybe connect that to a percentage. So every year it's automatically increasing by 100%, 2050. Or you can also put like for every year different values on that. Then I was lazy, of course, in this example, but it's also good to put down a source where you did, where did you get the assumption from? Was it like online research, or was it someone that told you about it, or even better, is it like an offer, from a lawyer, for example, and you exactly know how much you have to pay? Then down here, the salaries. Then the liquidity planning is also important. List the types of revenues up here, always on a monthly basis. Because sometimes if you just look at an annual statement, you could, have all green figures, making good business. But if you look at the liquidity planning, it's not true, because for like a few months you're out of cash. And it's also important that when you do the liquidity planning, think about when the revenues are actually on your bank account, not a signed contract or a bill you've written, when it's paid. Because usually these are expenditures you have to pay immediately, and the revenues, even though you have signed a contract, can come later. And in the annual statement, for example, doesn't really take care of that. So often when you write the bill, it's booked, but you can maybe get the money half a year later or the next year or something like that. And that's why you need to basically calculate all the value based on a monthly basis, and then basically calculate your effective liquidity. If you're making a bigger loss in the next month, you need to calculate that on top, because eventually this line will tell you in the end how much money you really need. It's not your annual statement, it's kind of this calculation. And then I always recommend to do it with revenue and without, because investors always ask you, what is your burn rate? That's basically your monthly cost without revenues. And if you have, for example, a monthly burn rate of 100,000 euros, for 12 months, that are 1.2 million. So. And then also a little advice on the personal planning. Do it again on a monthly basis. You know, then you can say from December to January, I hired a person here. Also distinguish between like personal, let's say positions like the CEO or in general like engineers or project managers or something. And also keep in mind that, you know, you can hire someone part-time or something, you know, if he's like a senior person or so and he maybe just wants to be involved half-time, you know, you can do that as well. So, all in all, remember this quote. I mean, I guess it's kind of, you've heard about it, but it's really true. No business plan survives first contact with the customer. You can plan everything, your revenues, and then your customer says, sorry, I'm going to buy your product in half a year. So all your calculations are wrong. But the important thing is there's only one thing which you can really calculate, and that are costs. Because even though your customer might not buy your product, you still have to pay rent and the salary. So this will not change. That's why also most of the investors are really interested in the burn rate. And then some advice. Try to manage everything via the assumption tab I told you about. Also try to use existing traction to plan future growth. These are the best business models. Where you're in business for like half a year or a year, you have already, you know, built your pain, you already have cash coming in. You know, writing a business plan based on that is much easier than just sitting down and coming up with everything. Also research and verify every assumption, really important. If you're unsure, you know, talk to people, talk to other founders. They also have experience and they can help you on that. Again, I talked about hiring too many people before. I always see that, you know. Startups think the bigger they are, you know, the more successful they are. But it's wrong. Just think about it. If you save on one engineer, it's 50,000 plus. If you invest that into marketing, often this has a very much better impact. Always try to do everything with annual and monthly figures. Really important. Because only then you can really see the impact of your decisions. And last thing, make sure to have a nice design and include comments. Because what happens is, you're talking to an investor, you're often talking to maybe the partner or senior employees, but the due diligence is usually done by people you haven't met, interns or, you know, associates on a lower level. And they just get this Excel spreadsheet, and they have to figure out everything themselves. And if they don't understand the Excel, they say, yeah, there's something shaky about it. I don't know, we shouldn't invest. Then you're out. So at least make sure that it's really easy to understand. And these are some questions the Excel should definitely answer. How much money do you generate per business model? It's not total revenue, but how much do you generate with advertisement? How much do you generate with sales, for example, consulting? What is your monthly burn rate? I talked about that. And how far will you be able to get with your funding? How much do you have to pay to acquire one customer? And lifetime value of your customers. I mean, this is probably something you need to sit down. So just in general, I will post my email address afterwards, and if you are really interested in, you know, getting the presentation or something, just take a picture of my email address and I'll send that to you. So and so let's go to the investor presentation framework. I recommend to always start out with 14 slides. Sometimes a few things are a bit more complicated, so let's say the solution could be 3 slides or something. But in general, start out with 14 slides and don't send more than 20. Because in the end, investors don't have time. In general, they spend 3 to 4 minutes on, you know, flipping through the investment deck, and if they don't get it, or it's too complicated, or it's too long, you're out. So, important is a cover sheet and a title. And make sure it's nice. Don't send them just like a white like page with a title or something. Make sure it's nice and sticks out, because this is what they will remember. Then make sure you have a nice executive summary. Like the next page is basically summarizing everything. Also important. And then state the problem, the solution, mention some technical facts, USPs, market size, competition, and the like. And of course, the investment documents should follow your personal story. So maybe you can, of course you can change a few slides, but I would never change the first 4. These always have to be in this order. And in the end, I wouldn't change these. They are also very important. I always have the team rather at the back, but before the financials, and then the contact details. And this is also important, have contact details. Because often founders don't have the contact details, then presentations get sent around within the company, and the people have a hard time to contact you. So, and this is my boss at PULSAR Consulting, he's the founder, and he always says SOS, style over substance, okay? So it's super important that your pitch deck looks really awesome, really awesome. And involve designers, okay? Pay them a few thousand euros. It's much better than just sitting down and doing an ugly PowerPoint. But also make sure you have good content, because otherwise this doesn't help as well. But first think about the style. So I just put in some random slides so you get a feeling. I kind of like this cover slide because better like different cars, so somehow they stick out. You have the big logo and you have the slogan: we make car buying, selling, and ownership delightful. Short, stays in, kind of like a one-sentence pitch. Then this is an executive summary. And you also have to keep in mind, these investment documents you send to investors are not the ones you present on stage. These have a bit more information because the people really sit down in front of the monitor and look them up. And important is that you always focus on traction. Okay? I mean, this is kind of a fake one, but the startup is one of the largest marketplaces for tourism guides worldwide. Okay? So you know what it's doing, you know it's big, so it's interesting. You have an overview. So global marketplace for extraordinary local travel experience. Mix of standard and customized tours provided by individuals. So you learn a bit more, but already here you state it's in the US market, other English-speaking markets. You know where it's operating. You want to expand to the German, Spanish, and French-speaking markets. This is already traction. This is traction. This is future traction. This is press coverage, also traction. So make sure everything is, whenever you can talk about traction, do it, because it's the proof of concept. Then this could be a problem, relatively simple and nice. A process, how you want to improve the car buying, process. Relatively simple, market slide. Team, I really like that. Here, this could be business model slide where you explain in detail your revenue drivers. You have your revenue and EBIT calculations next to it. This is okay. Here, use of funds, monthly break-even analysis. You talk about, your funding requirement, how much you're going to last without revenues. You tell the investor what you're going to do with the funds and your growth targets. And then contact slides. Again, a little bit of traction, state social media, maybe make like a little screenshot of your app or so, and always state 2 people to contact. Yeah? It's super important. Have a main contact and have a second one, because the main contact could be sick, he could be on a business trip or something, and the investors, if they want to contact the startup, they want to do it now, and if they don't reach them, too bad. Yeah? Then they have like many other startups to talk about and comment. This is also a very broad example of the executive summary. Really, it's not about the text or so, but I just want to have a title, have a summary of your idea, then have some facts, say, when you're founded, where you're based, market you're focusing on, the investment sum or something. This goes in here. Here maybe some of your USPs. Always use pictures and graphs to explain your startup data. Have some numbers in there, and again, a few people to contact. So, one of the last slides, where to look for investors, okay? Investors are basically everywhere. I bet there's some in here. So, go to meetup and conferences like this one. Yeah? Get to know them personally, talk to them before you meet them. Look on Startup Digest, Angels List or Angels.co nowadays, Foundum, Crunchbase. Many investors have blogs, they use Twitter, LinkedIn, Sing. Ask your friends and family, or just Google them. This is the best way to come up with a long list. But try to really meet them before and engage with them. Tell them, I'm working on this project, it's very early stage. Is that something that is interesting you? If so, I'll get back to you in a few months when I'm at a better stage. But then they've heard about you. Maybe you meet them at another conference 2 months later. You update them, and this is how you kind of build a relationship with the investor. Really important. And then it's also much easier to send them to the summary because you have contact details. They remember you. So one thing to keep in mind. Another misconception is that VCs don't like to take risk. I always say they are more conservative than bankers. And VC money is not money to realize ideas. It's to build businesses based on existing traction. So what the VCs are doing, they're giving you money to grow your business. That's why traction is so important. Because traction proves that there is already some sort of business. So, do you have some questions? Yeah.
What do you think about crowd investing?
Crowd investing. I think this definitely depends on your startup and your idea. Not every startup is suitable for crowd investing. But again, it's a very viable option. It's also relatively good for the startup because in general you don't really give the investors or the crowd investors equity. They only participate in your success, but they don't get equity. So that's also a plus point. And it's also marketing. If you have a very successful campaign, you get a lot of marketing traction. Yeah. Yeah, the investor is a person that gives you money. It's never really a person that helps you, to develop your idea. So that's why if you're still in the idea stage or early traction phase, talk to customers, talk to friends, talk to other startups to get feedback. And once you have the feedback to really improve the idea and you're at a certain level, where you can engage with investors, then you talk to investors.
Who are agencies who help you to qualify your ideas?
The customer. Simple as that. Yeah. I would never really go to a consultancy or something and ask, is this idea valid or not? No. So if you can sell your product for money, you have the proof. You get money instead of paying money. It's even better. More questions? Yeah?
If we are able to go back to page 17.
Yeah, I can. Oh, is it gone? Because there were actually some more slides after this one. 17. This one?
Yeah, because I would like to advise to put another point inside.
Okay.
Having all these things said, all startups have to think also on an early stage where and how to sell the product. So if it comes, for example, to a retailer, it's a complete cost structure and all these kind of things, marketing topics involved when having just the internet page and selling the product. That's my experience now for 1 year.
Yeah, very good point. I need to update that. Thanks. More questions? Yeah?
You were mentioning that it's okay to not sign the NDA with the investors.
Mm-hmm.
Quite often that the idea could be very simple, but nobody really did put time to think about it.
Yeah.
And it could be very easily copied.
Yeah.
Do you think it's for the startup? It's a good risk to take?
Of course. I would recommend everybody to talk about their ideas because they get feedback and potentially they get traction because they meet potential customers. And in the end, the investor, as I said, people often don't believe that, but really talk to investors and they can always tell you that there are some sort of trends. And I mean, we have more than 6 billion people on this planet. So it's the chances that you are the only one working on one problem is even less than 0, okay? So you always have competitions, yeah? And you only know your community. So if you're based in Berlin, you maybe know the people in Berlin. Yeah? If some people already have traction, you can read about a startup in Munich or Hamburg via the newspaper or blogs. But you will never hear about your competitors in India, US, China, you know, you name it. So the only way to really get investors to invest into your business is traction. Yeah? Because even though you could have some other secret competitors here in Berlin, they all talk to the same investor. The investor will pick out the startup that shows traction. And this is also the best, basically patent you can get in the world. It's traction. If you are the biggest one out there or the one that is really gaining the best momentum, it's really difficult for others, to copy you. I would say you have to have a good problem to work on. Yeah? A problem that is promising a big market, and you have to have an innovative way to solve it. And again, traction. I think this is way more important than an idea. Because my idea could be to fly to the Mars. Super difficult to do. And I think it's not one of the most important problems right now. There are more problems that are more important. Okay, I would say we cut it short here. If you want to talk to me, I'm around. So let's go to the end, because I have a little Zugabe for you. First of all, my contact details. So if you want, take a picture and write me. Okay, everybody done? Because I know it's the worst thing, you want to take a picture and then the slide goes. Say, okay, two smartphones are up there. Okay, last one, perfect. So let's go. I think the best thing you can do as an entrepreneur is to read books. Most important thing ever. Read books. And some of the best books out there are these ones. The Startup Owner's Manual. Everybody is talking about Lean Startup. I have read the book, and it's good, it opens your eyes. But this one actually is a manual of how to execute a business.
You start with the first page, and Steve Blank is helping you to develop your idea. And you read one of the last pages, and he is telling you how to grow your business. Really cool. And the most important thing is he has 2 tracks, one for software companies and one for hardware companies. Super important. And then this one, I just love this book because it's about, opening your mind, getting more input from everywhere. It's written like a comic, but it's super amazing. And then, if you want to do some marketing, read these 3 books. This one is amazing. He's talking about Twitter, Facebook, Google+, Instagram, LinkedIn, Tumblr, and Pinterest. And he has about 20 case studies per social media platform. And he tells you all the don'ts and do's and gives examples. So really important. And here you have some overviews about ways to gain traction. Then I would say these are a must to improve your networking skills and motivation. If you ask famous in startup founders, usually they recommend this one as the most important book ever written in business. And this is, if you have always try to put some gamification on your product, it increases the engagement. And I would say this is kind of the Bible for it. Then for me, this is the Bible if you want to talk to investors and learn about, how to do investor contracts, ways of financing. It's an American book. Of course, it doesn't, match with the German law, but still, it's the best written book I've read out there. Yeah. And then if you're down, read this book, The Hard Thing About Hard Things. So that's it.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Good?
Yeah, thank you very much, Niclas, for this interesting talk. I have one last question.
Okay, sorry, I don't know.
Are your slides available somewhere? Because I think
of course.
been like so many useful informations in there, and can they be downloaded somewhere?
Of course. As I said, I guess I need to put them on SlideShare then or something. But you can also write me an email. Yeah. So if you didn't take a picture or something, just approach me. I have some business cards. I'm around here, and I'm more than happy to share knowledge. Also, if you have like an idea you want to get feedback on, or you're in a fundraising process, you want to get some feedback on your pitch deck or something, I'm always happy to help.
Okay, and you're gonna be around all day anyway.
Of course, all night.
Okay.
So see you later.
Yeah, perfect. Thanks a lot again.
Yeah, thanks. You're welcome.